Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be looking at using paper napkins to help create an image on your page. So this rainbow background is one I created using the leftover paint on my brush from the page next door. Really simple, just paint some little dots of paint onto your page or onto your wherever you're working, and then just swipe your paintbrush through them and swipe it down the page. So you could use a credit card to swipe the paint down your page to create a background like that. The napkin I've got is one I borrowed from my mother, who bought these for a dinner party she had, and I really liked it. So if you've never used napkins before in your artwork, you need to peel off the white backings. Usually they're about 3-ply, so you need to take off 2 of the backings to get just the printed piece. And then I've just used gel medium to glue it down the page. Now you notice with the gel medium, it's made the image quite translucent. This will become more opaque as it dries. It's just because at the moment it's very wet, so it's looking very see-through. But I did decide actually I was going to use this more as a guide to help me paint this image in. So you can see I've added on the rest of her dress with black gesso, and now I'm going to sort of start painting in the face. So really simple. I love this because I've got a model here that I can use. I'm not painting from scratch. It's helping me work out where I need to put my colours and so on. For those of you who follow my channel, lots will realise that me using skin tones is a little bit unusual. So this gave me the fact that I had a little bit of colour in the background, and obviously I didn't have to draw the faces. This gave me a bit of confidence to have a go. So you can see it's looking quite alien-esque in the fact that I've got sort of these funny eyes on the page, and you will notice when you're painting, until you actually do the eyes of your image, it is always going to look a little odd, because for a human brain, the eyes are what makes a face a face. So you can see as soon as you put the white in, it suddenly makes it look more realistic. I then decided I would go in with paint pens instead of a paintbrush, because I find I have more control of the paint pen. Now obviously if you're got fine enough brushes or you've got good control with brushes, just use your brush to do this, but I find it a little bit easier with pens. And all I'm doing is extending out the image. So obviously it had the flowers at the top, and I've just extended down the little petals and flower stems so I could create the image. And when I did this, it was like, okay, the face is now looking pretty strong. The stems are looking pretty strong, but the flowers are sort of going into the background. So I was thinking about what I was going to do to that. I went in with my Stabilo Oil pencil to frame up my face a little bit more, drawing some of those darker areas and those shadows again, so it really pops it out from the page. I also went around the parrot so that he didn't get lost on the page as well. You can kind of see as the image is drying that the colours are becoming a little bit more intense, but they're still, because the image is quite fine, still going to be translucent up to a point. So you just need to be aware of that as you go. I'm now going in with my Stabilo again, just to add in a few shadows, and this is me just playing around going, what am I going to do next? So I wanted to work on the birds a little bit, but I didn't particularly want to add more paint to the birds because that was a little bit scary. So I thought I would try matching some of the colours of the flowers and just adding that extra brightness in. And as soon as I did that, it made such a difference to the page. So again, I didn't have to think about the colours I was using because the colours were already there. I was just matching up what I had as close as possible. If it didn't really match, it didn't matter. The fact that I was sort of using opaque-ish paints in the background too helped. I am using a tiny little bit of paint. The less paint you use, you will get some of those lines from the background coming through, and you'll still be able to see that line work from the background, so you've got a bit of an idea of where your shadows and your petals and so on are. So if you're feeling really unsure about where to draw things or where to shade or what bits should be darker, you've got those models there that you can use. You can see I'm getting a little bit braver and sort of mixing some of the colours together. I did then decide I would go in with the bird a little bit and add a little bit more colour to him, because I was just really liking how bright suddenly painting over those images was. I then decided to get really brave, and now I'd sort of done a few flowers with the model underneath that I'd paint in some of my own as well, just to fill in those little bits in the background or down the bottom where they were just a little bit, it was a little bit empty. So my Frida Kahlo was taking shape, which I really liked. Then I went in with the paint pen again to add in some more of the green stems, add in a few to the extra flowers that I drew. Because she had a little bit of line work, I then went in with my white paint pen. This is a really fine white paint pen, and did some really scribbly sort of lines and leaves over the top. And this sort of gave a more naive, I don't know, style to the piece, because you sort of have this almost like folk arty type feel to the piece, which I quite liked over the top, having those little details put in. And obviously, as I said before, if you've used quite fine paint, you can use the lines that are underneath already as a bit of a guide. At this stage, I was feeling, because I sort of painted out those flower stuff, I was feeling a little bit more confident with what I was doing, because I'd gone over those lines a few times, that I didn't mind that my lines were a little bit wonky and so on. I also decided to outline my stems and the leaves just to add that little extra line detail to it. So it really helps push those images out from the background, gives them a little bit of interest. I just like the effect of it, so you don't have to do it, but it just adds something a bit different to it. And again, you can see me going in with a bird, adding a few little highlights, a few little wing lines on it. Just helps pop the image out a little bit. So while I've started with a piece of napkin, I have pretty much painted over the entire piece, which I wasn't expecting to do. I thought I'd just glue the napkin down and just draw a little bit in the base when I first started this, but I really started enjoying the process. And as I've quite often said before, you know, painting over things, using them as models, is a really great way of practicing. And it's pretty low stress. If I'd had to sit there and draw a face and draw birds, it wasn't really going to happen. The fact that I had a tissue there that I could paint over made this a whole lot simpler in the end. Finally, all I went in with was, I went and found a quote from Frida Kahlo, and I really like this one: "Nothing is absolute." And I really liked the contrast of the white against the beautiful rainbow in the background. So once I've finished that, I'm just going in with my black pen and doing a little bit of a drop shadow around my letters, just to help push them out from the background, because it is so bright and busy. This just helps really pull the letters out and make them a focal point. And again, in sort of the distance of the camera, it doesn't make much of a difference. When you look at the close-ups, you'll see how those letters really pop from the page. So this is my final page. You can see those scribbly lines over the top, a little bit of shading I've done with my Stabilo Oil Pencil, how those details on the parrot, for example, help push it out, how those leaves have been transformed and blended in. So it's a really, really fun page, but I would suggest going and looking at your napkin collection, or going to find some really funky ones and having a go. And this technique could work with anything. If it was just flowers, a Christmas one, just have a go and have fun painting over the top of them. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.